I can't believe Kemi Badenoch's done what she's done and said what she said about Nigel Farage. She's basically accusing him of fraud. He's not a man I'd like to say that to at all. I've not seen him go into battle and lose yet. He's very strategic and he will work out his position. I think that's a massive, massive mistake. It gives you two choices. Get some evidence or apologise. That's the position you put yourself in. At best, you should have got one of your stooges to say it. And I can't believe you said it to a party that's took on a bloke that's just donated hundreds of thousands to them, which is their use of, who's an IT tech expert. You honestly think that Reform are going to leave themselves wide open like this? I seriously doubt it. So I'm not so sure why. I just think it's madness. And it shows the ineptitude of the Tory party in having her as a leader. There's a lot of talk about the democratisation of Reform. Well, there isn't a lot of talk. There's one person that's particularly took the hump about it. It's not something that bothers me because I see this country having massive problems that have nothing to do with Reform. This is how I break it down. The democratisation or lack of it with Reform can only be pertinent to Reform Party members. It can't be of no consequence to Labour or Tories. And at the end of the day, well, I'll read you something out that somebody sent to me. And they've said, all our political parties have struggled with democratisation. The Tory grassroots members had no say on the leader until quite recently, but they did heavily control candidate selection. Labour struggled with union bloc votes and was laughably undemocratic. They also removed a lot of the local branch selection powers after problems with the bedsit brigade, infiltrating branches and selecting far-left nutters as candidates. Reform is probably better building up local branches and support. There's no point trying to get approval from people who hate you. So the way Reform is set up currently, and actually if you look at the Constitution, they can unseat Nigel Farage through a system that goes through the management, which is more than acceptable for me. Because at this stage, they're trying to avoid entryism. And entryism is when people join up political parties to destabilise them. It happened to UKIP. Look at the Tories. I mean, the Tories are living proof of this. The Tories used to be Margaret Thatcher. Thatcherism was a brand of the Tory party, a brand of conservatism. And since that point, since they infiltrated it with John Major and then other leaders, we've had nothing but fake conservatism. We've had people who are not conservatives running the Conservative Party. It's been a joke. Even Boris, allegedly the leader of Vote Leave, started taking advice, as I can see it, from his left-wing wife. That's why net zero was brought to top of the bill from page 54 of the manifesto. Normally, that far back in a manifesto wouldn't get even touched until they were in a second term of office. So what you've got to look at, this democratisation, this is a pipe dream. Entryism is the biggest threat at the moment because it's what other parties would love. If a nucleus of people joined Reform who were all from the left or former Tories wanting to destabilise it to snuff out competition, they could do it. Well, I don't want to see that because Reform's our only hope. And I'm saying this as a neutral voice. I'm saying this as a commentator. I'm not even a member of Reform. I have refrained from joining any political parties so that I can stay neutral, so that when you see my face and I'm telling you something, I'm telling it you from the heart. I'm telling it you from what I see evolving in politics, which is a really tough platform to understand. And it takes me a while. Sometimes I have to read documents twice, and sometimes I have to say to David, have I got this right? To make sure I have. So I'm not doing this for any gain for the sake of Reform and Nigel Farage. I'm doing this because somebody needs to be neutral. Because other people have always, so many have so many agendas, trying to build their own egos up. And you've got to look at, for Reform to be successful and get into government, they need a figurehead that's recognisable. Like Colonel Sanders on a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken. You pick the bucket up, you know what you're eating. It's KFC. If Nigel Farage is at the head of the party, people know what they're voting for. They recognise him. Stand outside a supermarket, get yourself a clipboard, I've said it before because I've done it, and ask the names of some lesser known political commentators or politicians. Ask if they know them. And then ask if they know Nigel Farage and see what reaction you get. Because I know what reaction I got. So you need him because he is the face that will be recognised by those millions of people that never got out to vote last time, who had washed their hands of politics because they thought it couldn't get any worse, and they didn't want to vote for the Tories because they didn't deserve the vote, but would never shamefacedly vote for Labour. And then what's happened, even in the face of that, Reform came second in 97 seats. And since that, they've been flying, because now this is a party. It's got 5 MPs, and now it's not just about this one man, Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage has got some really good sidekicks. He's got some MPs like Rupert Lowe, who are making a difference by asking the right questions and not afraid to say what the British public are thinking. Kemi Badenoch isn't reading the room. Kemi Badenoch is not fit to be the leader of the Tory party. She's been photographed with the WEF. All I ever see about Kemi on my threads on Twitter and on YouTube is WEF stooge, WEF stooge. She's a WEF stooge. And we've had enough of WEF. That's why Reform's done so well. Because we don't want to be led down this road where we're going to own nothing and be happy, because we're not happy even thinking about it, let alone living through it. And that's what you've got to look at. And that's why I pride myself on being a neutral voice. I don't make any videos where I ask you for money for political parties. I don't make any videos where I ask you to join them. I never suggest it. I put information out there to show you we've no other choice, because that's what I see. And Reform will get my husband's vote, many members of my family, and my vote. They'll get my vote. But I am not here as some sort of stooge or mouthpiece for Nigel Farage or anybody else. But I see what damage is being done at the moment by making the issue about the party setup and whether or not it's beating the Tory party with numbers. Of course it's beating the Tory party with numbers. This is coming from a party where people, when they were voting for a new leader, people were sending me copies of letters they were getting for a ballot paper, where the party was actually inviting people who'd left to join in and vote. What does that tell you about bolstering up the numbers? Again, this is just my point of view, but the setup of the Reform Party can only affect Reform members. It cannot affect the rest of the country. The laws and legislation that's being passed over us affect every single person. And I'm not bothered about Reform and its setup, because we've had so many dodgy politicians with hidden agendas that have lied to us. David Cameron signing us into the bank bailing scheme where the bank can keep your money to bail its own mistakes out. He did that at the close of business at Christmas 2015, and you're bothered about the setup of Reform? Have you seen what these people have done to you over the years? And they're handling a nation, not party members, they're handling the whole nation. And they've ripped us off and duped us and overtaxed us and lied to us and ended up with the most expensive electricity in the world. So no, I'm not bothered about the setup of Reform. And if you are, then you've got a strange list of priorities, because there's a lot more going wrong. I look at a party here that if Nigel Farage was in power, those boats would have been stopped months ago. Months ago. We'd already be better off. There's no way that Nigel Farage's party would be putting them up in hotels. There's 9 million quid a day that's costing, and 500,000 of that spent on empty bedrooms in case some more turn up. You think Nigel Farage's party would do that? You only need to address those 2 issues and your country's better off. Do you think Nigel Farage's party would be a party that decreased beds in the NHS while they employ diversity, equity and inclusion managers? Do you think Nigel Farage's party would do that? Well, I don't. So as far as I'm concerned, the setup of the Reform Party is of little consequence, and actually at the moment of a great benefit, because it avoids entryism, where people join parties to destabilise them. There's nothing the Tories, especially the Tories, would like more than to see reform destabilised, because they're not interested in the country, they're not interested in any form of unity, they're interested in damping out competition and looking after their own sorry arses. That's the truth about politicians. So there isn't time to create anything else from any other small parties. There isn't time, because the people that you need to get voting are the people that don't follow politics, and they won't trust a new face. And I wouldn't trust, personally, I look at the people and I think, no, you can't run the country. Nigel Farage has got the capabilities, so has Rupert Lowe. They could actually do it. They could actually do the damn job. And you've got to attract those people who don't take any notice of politics. So you need that Colonel Sanders moment where you can lift a cup up and his face is recognisable. And that's Nigel Farage. And I say it again, I'll remind you, I'm a neutral voice. I'm not doing anything I do other than my country can't afford to not have people stand up and fight for it. My country needs people saying it like it is, without an agenda. And I have no agenda. I don't want your money. I don't care where you vote, as long as you have the information to put your vote in the right place. I don't care what decision you come to, even if it's not reform, as long as you've had abreast of the information. Like with lockdowns and the rollout, we should have had better information to make better choices. That's all I do. That's all I do.